Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'm Wenju, and we'll be looking at the talents for Death Knight in the beta. So let's get started. First up, we'll be looking at Unholy. In our level 56 talent pool, we have All Will Serve. Your Raise Dead spell summons an additional skeletal minion, and its cooldown is removed. Next to that, we have Bursting Sores. Festering Wounds deals 50% more damage when burst, and all enemies within 8 yards of a burst Festering Wound suffer X amount of shadow damage. And third, we have Ebon Fever. Virulent Plague deals the same damage in half the time. In our level 57 talent pool, we have Epidemic. Causes each of your virulent plagues within 100 yards to flare up, dealing X amount of shadow damage to the infected enemy and an additional X amount of shadow damage to all other enemies near them. Next to that, we have Pestilent Pustules. Every 5th festering wound you burst grants you 1 rune. And third, we have Blighted Rune Weapon. Your next 4 auto attacks infect your target with 2 festering wounds. In our level 58 talent pool, we have Unholy Frenzy. When a festering wound bursts, you gain 100% increased attack speed for 2 seconds. Next to that, we have Castigation. Each festering strike, critical strike, applies 2 additional festering wounds. Each Scourge Strike, critical strike, bursts 1 additional festering wound. And third, we have Clawing Shadows. Deals X amount of shadow damage and causes 1 festering wound to burst. In our level 60 talent area, we have Sludge Belcher. Raise Dead now summons an abomination instead of a ghoul, with improved innate abilities. Next to that, we have Asphyxiate. Lifts the enemy target off the ground, crushing their throat with dark energy and stunning them for 5 seconds. And third, we have Debilitating Infestation. Outbreak reduces the movement speed of all affected enemies by 50% for 3 seconds. In our level 75 talent pool, we have Spell Eater. Your anti-magic shell is 20% larger and casts 5 seconds longer. Next to that, we have Corpse Shield. For the next 10 seconds, 90% of all damage you take is transferred to your ghoul. If your ghoul is slain while this spell is active, it cannot be resummoned for 30 seconds. And third, we have Lingering Apparition. You move 30% faster during Wraith Walk, and its cooldown is reduced by 15 seconds. Your level 90 talent pool, we have Shadow Infusion. While your ghoul is not transformed, Death Coil will also reduce the remaining cooldown on Dark Transformation by 5 seconds. Next to that, we have Necrosis. Dealing damage with Death Coil causes your next Scourge Strike to deal 25% increased damage. And third, we have Infected Claws. Your Ghoul's Claws attacks have a 35% chance to cause a festering wound on the target. And your level 100 talent points, we have Dark Arbiter. Replaces Summon Gargoyle. Summon a Valkyr to attack the target for 15 seconds. The Valkyr will gain 1% increased damage for every 1 runic power you spend. Next to that, we have Defile. Replaces Death and Decay. Defiles the ground targeted by the Death Knight for 10 seconds. Every 1 second, if there are any enemies standing in the Defile, it deals X amount of Shadow Frost damage to them and grows in radius. And increases your mastery by 23, stacking up to 10 times. While you remain within Defile, your Scourge Strike will hit all enemies near the target. And third, we have Soul Reaper. Strike an enemy's soul for X amount of shadow damage, afflicting them with Soul Reaper for 5 seconds. Bursting a festering wound on an enemy afflicted by Soul Reaper grants 7% haste for 15 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. Next, we'll be looking at the talents for Frost. First up, we have our level 56 talents. we have Shattering Strikes. If there are 5 stacks of Razor Ice on the target, Frost Strike will consume them and deal 50% additional damage. Next to that, we have Icy Talons. Frost Strike also increases your melee attack speed by 10% for 6 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. And third, we have Murderous Efficiency. Consuming the Killing Machine effect has a 50% chance to cause you to gain 1 rune. In our level 57 talent pool, we have Freezing Fog. Howling Blast and Frost Fever deal 50% increased damage. Next to that, we have Frozen Pulse. While you have no full runes, your auto attacks radiate intense cold, inflicting X amount of frost damage on all nearby enemies. And third, we have Horn of Winter. Blow the Horn of Winter, gaining 1 rune and generating 5 runic power. In our level 58 talent pool, we have your Frost Strike and Obliterate critical strikes reduce the remaining cooldown of Pillar of Frost by 1.0 seconds. Next to that, we have Hungering Rune Weapon. Replaces Empower Rune Weapon. Empower your rune weapon, gaining 1 rune and 5 runic power instantly and every 1.5 seconds for 9 seconds. And third, we have Avalanche. While Pillar of Frost is active, your melee critical strikes cause jagged icicles to fall on your nearby enemies, dealing X amount of frost damage. In your level 60 talent pool, we have Abomination's Might. Obliterate critical strikes have a chance to drive lesser enemies to the ground, stunning them for 2 seconds. Players are dazed for 5 seconds instead. Next to that, we have Blinding Sleet. Targets in a cone in front of you are blinded, causing them to wander disoriented for 4 seconds. Damaging may cancel the effect. And third, Winter is Coming. Enemies struck 5 times by Remorseless Winter while your Pillar of Frost is active are stunned for 4 seconds. Level 75 talent pool, we have Volatile Shielding. Your anti-magic shell turns your enemy's pathetic magic against them, absorbing 35% more damage but generating no runic power. When it expires, 25% of all damage absorbed is dealt as arcane damage divided among nearby enemies. Next to that, we have Permafrost. While you deal damage with auto attacks, gain an absorbed shield equal to 30% of the damage dealt. And the third talent, White Walker. You take 20% reduced damage while Wraith Walk is active. When you enter or leave Wraith Walk, all nearby enemies are slowed by 50% for 3 seconds. In our level 90 talent pool, we have Frost Scythe, a sweeping attack that strikes all enemies in front of you for X amount of frost damage. This attack benefits from Killing Machine. Critical strikes with Frost Scythe deal 4 times normal damage. Next to that, we have Runic Attunement. Auto attacks generate 1 runic power. And third, we have Gathering Storm. Each rune spent during Remorseless Winter increases the damage by 10% and extends it by 0.5 seconds. And in your level 100 talent pool, we have Obliteration. For the next 8 seconds, every Frost Strike hit triggers Killing Machine, and Obliterate costs 1 less rune. And next to that, we have Breath of Cindergosa. Continuously deal X amount of Shadow Frost damage every 1 second to enemies in a cone in front of you. Deals reduced damage to secondary targets. You will continue breathing until runic power is extinguished, or you cancel the effect. And third, we have Glacial Advance. Summon glacial spikes from the ground that advance forward, each dealing X amount of frost damage to enemies near the eruption point. And now we'll be looking at blood. Oh, Jesus. First up in our level 56 talent pool, we have Bloodworms. Your auto attack critical strikes have a chance to summon a Bloodworm. Bloodworms deal minor damage to your target for 15 seconds and then burst, healing you for 5% of your missing health. If you drop below 50% health, your Bloodworms will immediately burst, healing you. Next to that, we have Heartbreaker. Heart Strike generates 3 additional runic power per target hit. Third, we have Exsanguinate. Drains X amount of health from the target over 3 seconds. You can move, parry, dodge, and use defensive abilities while channeling this ability. In our level 57 talent pool, we have Rapid Decomposition. Your Death and Decay deals damage 50% more often. And while in your Death and Decay, you generate 20% more runic power. Next to that, we have Soul Grinder. Consume your blood plagues within 30 yards, dealing X amount of shadow damage to each infected enemy and empowering you for 24 seconds with up to 50% runic regeneration per plague. Plagues closer to expiration grant more rune generation. Its passive, Blood Boil, no longer applies Blood Plague. Third, we have Spectral Deflection. Attacks that deal more than 20% of your maximum health will consume a second Bone Shield charge to further reduce the damage. Level 58 talent pool, we have Ossuary. While you have at least 5 Bone Shield charges, the cost of Death Strikes is reduced by 5 runic power. Additionally, your maximum runic power is increased by 10. Next to that, we have Blood Tap. Consumes Shadowy Essence. Recharge time reduced by 1 second whenever a Bone Shield charge is consumed. Third, we have Anti-Magic Barrier. Anti-Magic Shell also increases your maximum health by 25% for 10 seconds. In our level 60 talent pool, we have Mark of Blood. Place a Mark of Blood on an enemy for 25 seconds. The enemy's damaging auto attacks will also heal their victim for 2% of the maximum health. Next to that, we have Red Thirst. Spending runic power will decrease the remaining cooldown on Vampiric Blood by 2 seconds per 10 runic power. Third, we have Tombstone. Consume all Bone Shield charges for each charge consumed. You gain 3 runic power and absorb damage equal to 3% of your maximum health for 8 seconds. For our level 75 talents, we have Tightening Grasp. Reduces the cooldown on Gorfine's Grasp by 60 seconds, and your Death and Decay also reduces the movement speed of enemies within it in its radius by 70%. Next to that, we have Tremble Before Me. Enemies damaged by your Death and Decay have a chance to cower in place for 3 seconds, but cannot suffer from this effect more than once per 10 seconds. Damage may cancel the effect. And third, we have March of the Damned. Wraith Walk lasts 50% longer and breaks stun, snares, and root effects while cast. In our level 90 talent pool, we have Will of the Necropolis. Damage taken below 35% health is reduced by 20%. Next to that, we have Rune Tap. Consume a rune to reduce all damage taken by 25% for 3 seconds. And third, we have Foul Bulwark. Each charge of Bone Shield increases your maximum health by 2%. And in our level 100 talent pool, we have Bone Storm. A whirl of bone and gore batters nearby enemies every 1 second, dealing X amount of shadow damage every 1 second, and healing you for 1% of your maximum health every time it deals damage. Lasts 1 second per 10 runic power spent. Next, we have Blood Mirror. Afflict an enemy with Blood Mirror for 10 seconds. While active, 20% of any damage dealt to you is redirected to the target. And thirdly, we have Purgatory, an unholy pact that prevents fatal damage. Instead of absorbing incoming healing... Okay. And third, we have Purgatory, an unholy pact that prevents fatal damage. Instead, absorbing incoming healing equal to the damage prevented, lasting 3 seconds. If any healing absorption remains when this effect expires, you will die. This effect may only occur every 3 minutes. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in any of the other talents for the other classes, please click any of the videos you see on screen. If you liked, give it a like. If you didn't like it, thumb down, whatever. Subscribe if you like. We've got more coming in the future. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time, guys. Later.